So today we're here with
Josh Krumwiede.
Josh. Who are your parents?
My dad is Jeff Krumwiede, and my mom is Lisa Krumwiede.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I have one of each. My brother Tanner lives in Toledo right now, Illinois, so he's not too far away. And then my sister Hannah is actually living at home now during the quarantine, but she's attending Illinois College in Jacksonville.
Who I just interviewed.
Yep.
Did sports play a key role in your family?
I have to laugh at that. I mean, it's a constant role in our family. Growing up in a household where my dad had coached basketball for many, many years, and so yeah, it's played a huge role. And since I've been involved in coaching and my brother's been involved with athletic training, it's even gotten more and more into a role of our family.
Where did you attend high school, and what year did you graduate?
I went to Carrollton High School, and I graduated in 2010.
What sports did you play in high school?
I played golf, I played basketball, and baseball.
So talk about your high school sports career from your freshman to senior year, including your teammates and your coaches.
Well, I was fortunate enough to be on a lot of successful teams. It's funny, I didn't decide to play golf until it was actually the summer before my freshman year. I was really thinking strongly about playing football, but just kind of picked up the game of golf, and here I am still playing a lot today. But there was a lot of memories I had, and the ones I think of are more so with the basketball side of things. We had so many great teams and teams that had so much success, and built a lot of friendships that I still have to this day with former teammates on the basketball team. Baseball was also fun too. When I think about playing for Coach Pullman, somebody that ended up winning a state championship in baseball in Peoria the year after I graduated in 2011. So that really shows how much they needed me that they won the year after. But no, I mean, if I just look at the bottom line of my high school sports career, I'm so thankful of the relationships that I made and the teammates that I had and the friends that I still have today, and just the success that we had on our teams was really something.
Talk about some of the teams and players that you had the pleasure to play against in high school.
Well, in that area of West Central Illinois that we were in, basketball is pretty big. Football is even bigger, and so I wasn't a part of that. But every winter, every November, we had things like the Winchester tournament in January. We were fortunate to host our own holiday tournament for basketball. But there were so many players during that time. When I think about a kid just to the north of us, 10 miles, a pretty big rival in North Green, Anthony Williford, who was a tremendous athlete. He was just somebody that was kind of a rival back in those days, and I know we kind of both had the same feelings, and we were friends and stuff throughout that. But he was somebody that you always knew was going to be a battle against those North Green teams. West Central had a lot of good teams too during those times, but I would say he's the one that comes to mind just because we had battled so much in baseball and basketball.
Name some of your favorite facilities in high school.
Well, there's really nothing spectacular about Carrollton High School's gym, but it was just so fun to play in there. And not necessarily that we had a loud crowd or some kind of atmosphere, but just being able to play in, I hate to be cliche, but just our home gym was just so fun to play in, and had a lot of fans show up during that era of playing basketball. And I just miss playing in that gym and loved every part of it.
Did you receive any awards in high school?
Yeah, I scored 1,000 points in basketball.
Boy, you remember like your sister.
Yeah, she scored more points than me total, but we'll always have that debate for the rest of the time. But no, that was an accomplishment that I had in basketball. Individual awards wise, I mean, all conference, all tournaments throughout mostly my junior and senior year. I think I might have had one my sophomore year too, but I also was selected to play in the IBCA All-Star game my senior year, so that was quite an accomplishment, and really relished being a part of that at Illinois Wesleyan. So that was really fun to get to play in that. But participating in the three-point shootout at state and basketball, was only able to get third, but that was fun to be able to make that final group of four and things like that. But in baseball, I'm sure we'll get to that later, but in playing college baseball, that was the kind of avenue that I went for playing college sports, was baseball instead of basketball.
So after high school, where'd you attend college, and who recruited you?
I went to 3 colleges. My freshman year, I was recruited by Hannibal-LaGrange University to play baseball. So I did that for a year. Learned a lot about the game there. NAIA school. It was like a lot of kids, I think, that leave high school and they go to college. Their eyes are pretty wide open, and it's kind of a humble experience to know that you're no longer the guy or one of the guys, and that there's a lot of other good baseball players out there. So I ended up transferring out. I went to, after 1 year of playing baseball in Missouri, and then I attended Parkland University in Champaign, where I walked onto the golf team and played golf for 1 year. And so then I continued to bounce around. I went to Illinois College in Jacksonville after that and spent my next 3 years there playing baseball.
So talk about your career, including your teammates and coaches, as far as what school was your favorite one, which one you played in?
Yeah, each one had their ups and downs. I think the most important thing for me was finally getting to what I thought was more my role, which was Division III school in Jacksonville. I was still somewhat close to home, so having my family close, they could attend games and things like that. It wasn't a big deal, but just also the relationships that I had and the friends that I made at Illinois College. Not to say that I didn't at the other schools and universities, but Illinois College, I think, and also just the fact that I was there for 3 years as opposed to 1 at the other ones. That's where I have most of my memories and things like that is from Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yeah. So any big names or players that you played against?
Well, I played golf. When I played golf at Parkland, the year after I left, which would have been the 2012-2013 season or school year, because I had played with this person before, but David Keenan was his name, and he won the NJCAA national championship for an individual golfer. So he was the best golfer in the U.S. for that division of schools. So to just say that I got to play with that guy for a year, that was pretty cool. Because he was something as a golfer. He was a great golfer. There was a lot of good athletes that I played against. It's hard to kind of pinpoint any. He's the one that kind of comes out. There's a lot of good baseball players that were playing in the Midwest Conference and the teams that we played at Illinois College and even at Hannibal. There was a lot of good players too. But I guess he's the one that I think about just because he was an individual champion.
So where are some of your favorite places that you played in college?
Well, baseball, it was always neat to play at Grinnell. Their baseball field was just, the way I think of it, was just a really nice field. It was really well maintained and it was just like a state-of-the-art baseball field. The trip to Grinnell was always pretty fun. It was kind of interesting when I was in college playing baseball at Illinois College in Jacksonville. They deemed our field was not safe to be played on, so we actually had to play at Lynn's Field, which I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with in Jacksonville, but it's an all-turf field. So here we are, Illinois College. We have this nice field on our beautiful campus, and we're not even able to play baseball on our campus, which was not good, but at the same time we got to play on an all-turf field at a nice facility too. So that was kind of interesting for my time. I never really got to enjoy playing on that field next to the Bruner Center in Jacksonville.
Any awards wrapping up college?
I was selected I made the all Midwest conference baseball team. I know for a fact my senior year, and I think maybe my junior year as well. I think I made it to the all-conference team 2 years while I was at Illinois College.
So now we talked about college and high school. Now we'll talk about your coaching. I want to ask you, talk about the process to becoming a Dieterich basketball coach and baseball coach.
Yeah, we were kind of joking earlier before the interview, but being from a place 2.5 hours away, straight across the state in West Central Illinois, I hadn't really heard of Dieterich before, and I wasn't really aware of what it was, but I just knew that I really needed a job and I wanted to work. And when I started learning more about Dieterich and their success and their tradition that they've had in all sports, not just boys basketball, which is is what we've had our most recent success in, but they've been very successful in baseball too. And when I found that out, I thought, well, this is something that it's probably a long shot, but I'll give it a try. And it was my very last interview that I had. I remember I went on a long interview spree where I had some interviews across the state, and it was my last one. And so, with it being your last one, I was kind of drained from all the interviews I had that week. But I'm just so fortunate that the principal at the time, Kevin Harmon, and the superintendent, who is still here, Kevin is at Neoga now, but the superintendent who's still here, and Kerry Jackson, gave me a chance, a younger kid who, at that time a younger kid, but somebody who hadn't had a lot of experience, but had been involved in the game all his life. They took a chance on me, and I'm forever grateful that they did.
So how long have you been a baseball and basketball coach here now, Dieterich?
4 years of coaching basketball and 4 years of coaching fall and spring baseball.
What's the favorite part to coaching?
That's tough. I would say what makes me feel the best is when you see a young athlete just with the joy on their face, I guess. Again, not to be too cliche, but we have, us coaches, I speak for the coaches out there, but we have a tremendous opportunity to really form young kids. If you're coaching boys, making them grow up and become men. And I've had the luxury of that so many different occasions where I literally see the joy on their faces, whether it's making a big basket in a game or, just at graduation or anything like that, just to know that you've been a part of that person's progression and growing up. That's probably the thing that matters the most to me and just makes me feel the best.
So I know we joked around with this before the interview, but a little bit about, what are your obstacles involved in coaching?
Yeah, here at Dieterich, outside isn't a problem when you're talking about baseball practice. We have our baseball field. But I guess I would say, and Dieterich's been so great and so flexible about gym availability and things like that. And when, coaches want to practice, I know that can always be somewhat of an issue we talked a little bit about snow days and things like that, but for me it's just the gym availability, I guess, and it's really not that big of an obstacle because the athletic director in Danetta Onosorge really works with all the coaches very well, and
she does a good job,
and the administration does a really good job. Mr. Coker as our principal, we use a lot of common sense around here, and I think that's what I like about Dieterich the most, is that there's always a solution to make most everybody happy. And I think just being a coach in the wintertime, having a girls basketball team, and even in the off season having workouts and things like that, it's like it can be tough when you have one main gym. Now we have a junior high that all of us share and use, but there's days where the gym availability can be a problem, but I'm just thankful that I have a lot of people, and Coach Noren, the girls coach, that's able to work with me and work with the AD and the principal.
So name some notable teams that you have coached here.
They've all been great. Off the top of my head, just a little recency bias, last year's basketball team. We didn't get to play spring baseball this year, unfortunately, but if I had to pick a couple, I'd probably pick three. It'd be the 2019-2020 basketball season, just with all the adversity that we had dealt with some injuries and things like that. To be 23-9, we lost to Altamont in the regional championship. But when I look at the season of last year, we achieved a lot, I think, for what we were kind of supposed to achieve, and we kind of exceeded some expectations. You go back and you look at 2018 was a really good year. 2018 boys basketball team was 23-7, and we won a regional that year. It was the third regional in a row that our school had won. I had been a part of two of them. We won in 2017, but I had the same group back. We didn't graduate a single player from my first year in 2017 to my second year. So having that junior class from the first year and watching them grow up as seniors, it was not a mystery that team was going to be very successful. So that 2018 team that won the regional was very good. And then for baseball, we've been successful. We just haven't been able to get that regional title, but the team I look at was the fall of 2018, when we were very close to maybe not even having a team. We just didn't have very good numbers. And I'm just so proud of that team and everybody involved in it, because we had some players that were walking the halls of the school who decided they were going to come out and play. Just, for lack of a better reason, just to, allow the season to go on, and those kids cared too much about our school and our programs to not play. Now those kids had played in the past, but I'm kind of going on and on, but I'm really proud of that season because not only were we able to have a season, but we were pretty good in that season as well. I think we went 14-7 with some guys that just kind of came on to help us play. So I'm just really proud of that team. I always will be.
We could go on and on about a lot of players too, but I wanted to hit on one very specific athlete, and that is Matthew Hunzinger. I wanted to talk about him because he's really come on strong lately. Now you're coaching him, and you still are, of course. He's going to be a senior, I believe. Talk about him as a person, but also as an athlete.
Yeah, when you make the decision that you're going to become a coach and a teacher, if that's obviously that's what I'm doing, but specifically a coach, you have in your mind these players and these kids that you want to coach, and he is one of those kids that just makes my job easier, makes my job fun, makes me as a coach more successful, makes our teams more successful because he's not just a great kid, but he's also a great athlete.
He's smart too.
And really smart. And that kid, whatever he chooses to do after he graduates next year is going to be successful. I would put all the money in the bank on that. He's a great kid, like you said, very smart. It's just an honor to coach him because he's a leader as well.
Yes.
He's able to, and this year next year we'll be expecting probably even more out of him. The expectations that he's had over the last couple of years, especially in baseball, has been a lot. And he's been hitting in the middle of our order in baseball for a while now. I remember when he was a freshman and he was leading off and getting on base for all the other guys behind him. But he's really transformed as a player. He really cares. He respects his coaches and his teammates and everything about the game that he's playing. And I can't say enough about him.
I did look up some of his stats from last year. He was hitting 350, 300 in 1 week. That's incredible.
Yeah, and I think looking at last year, the funny thing is, Matthew's not here, so I'll speak for him, but he had actually had better numbers in years before, but he still had great numbers last year, and I think he would even tell you if he was here that he wished he could have done better. But that's him. That's the drive that he has, and he always is striving to be better. And I think any good athlete thinks that way, thinks that they can always be better. But hopefully one of these days he realizes how good he is, and he can kind of look back and relish his high school career and how much he helped the people around him.
He throws right and bats left. That's Matthew Hunzinger for you.
Yep.
So talk about your assistants.
Ted Westendorf has been my basketball assistant for the 4 years that I've been here. He was hired the same year that I was. He is not going to be helping with basketball this year, but I'm, very thankful and appreciative of what he was able to give our program in the last 4 years. And being somebody that played in the, me as an outsider and a young head coach, it was very helpful to have him along my side and to kind of help me with the ins and the outs of the community and things like that. And also he's a good coach and he's a good mentor for the kids. He taught them a lot. Darren Campton has been my baseball assistant coach for the 4 years that I've been here. Now he was here before that for quite a while, him and helping Jamie Vansock. But again, it's a guy from, he didn't go to school here at Dieterich, but he's been in the community for a long time. And, anytime I need any help, anytime I have a suggestion, or anytime I need something, they are happy to give me a suggestion and help me. And I've just had really good rapport with my assistant coaches, and I'm really thankful for that.
Name some coaches that you have had the pleasure to coach against.
Yeah, there's so many. I don't want to leave any out.
We were mentioning Bob Lockhart.
Yeah, Bob is somebody, I know he just got inducted into the Hall of Fame for the IBCA, I think last year. He's an old school guy. He, anytime I call him and ask anything, he's always readily available to help me. And that's, I think, what a lot of coaches are looking for is this other coach available to help me out. Not that we expect them to give us their plays and their strategies, but that's a big part of coaching is getting some help from coaches that have been around the community, and Bob definitely has done that. He's been to a lot of different places, so he's helped me. There's been a lot of others. I mean, everyone in our conference has been so helpful, whether it's, and again, I'm going to name names, but I don't want to leave anybody out, but everybody is helpful in our conference. But, Josh Zink at North Clay has been a tremendous help. John Nieberge at Altamont has been a great help to me for scouting and things like that. And this conference that is the National Trail it's got great coaches, great people involved, and it's what makes it go. I will mention too, somebody who's not coaching anymore, but that's been very helpful to me is Jeff Stacer, and he was here for 4 years, had an unbelievable run with this basketball program, and I'm here following him, and there's a lot of expectations, and I embrace that, and I don't look at that as necessarily a challenge. I embrace it. I want to be successful, and to be as successful as his teams would be something. We're still trying to get there, but he, at any time, he's been in my phone ever since I moved here, and before I moved here, I talked to him, and he's been so helpful to me over the last 4 years. Anything that I need, anything that he could help me with, he definitely has.
So you've been mentioning a lot about the NTC lately. I want to describe coaching the week of NTC week in basketball.
Well, it's the week that I think a lot of coaches, I don't want to speak for them, but for me personally, it's one of my favorite weeks of the season, if not my favorite week. It's so fun. NTC schools play each other throughout the season, whether it's in shootouts, regular season games, and whatnot, but just that week is in where it falls right before the postseason, and all the teams in the conference to have the opportunity to play each other into some very, very meaningful games, and the crowds that are in that Altamont gym, and everything about that week is so fun, from the hospitality room to just what you get out of those games. And it can be physically draining for the kids, it can be emotionally draining for the kids and the coaches, but it's very important, I think, for the postseason, for all the teams to be in a lot of those tough games. I mean, none of those games in that conference are easy. Mm-hmm. And
the atmosphere level is unbelievable.
Well, just when you pinpoint, just one of the things about the tournament that I know is that St. Elmo Brownstown 2 years ago in 2019 was in the play-in game to start the tournament, and they won a regional. Mm-hmm. They were the 8 or 9 seed, and they won a regional. And then my first year, we did the same thing. We won a regional, and we were in that play-in game. So to me, that just speaks to the challenge of the tournament. It just speaks to how competitive the tournament is, and the teams and the coaches that you have to go against, sometimes for a third time, and it can be grueling, but it's so fun, and it's so exciting that week, and the kids really get up for it, and I hope it never changes. Fortunately,
you guys have been in the championship game the last couple of years.
Yeah, we were only in the championship game once, but we got third last year. Mm-hmm. We won over Neoga last year. We lost to St. Anthony in the 2018 season with the team we kind of talked about earlier, in a really good, really close game, and so we gave them the best shot we could. But yeah, I mean, it's we look forward to that week every year.
Talk about some of the baseball side now, real quick. Emotions of getting to coach against your dad last year, the Battle of the Birds.
It's something that my dad didn't really start coaching baseball until only a couple of years ago. I mean, he had coached before he started basketball, but he had been a basketball coach for 24 years. So, or somewhere in there, I always forget the number. But when he chose to do the baseball thing, and I was obviously doing baseball here at Dieterich, we said, we got to play a game. And the first year that we did the Battle of the Birds, we did it at SIU Edwardsville. And then we did the Battle of the Birds in the next year, which was here at our field, because we couldn't get a field in between. We kind of had some issues with rain and stuff to get a college field. We wanted it to be at Greenville, but that just didn't work out. So it actually worked out better for them to come here, and our parents were so good about having all the food prepared and have the tent set up, and the kids got fed and all that. But coaching against my dad was something that I just honestly wasn't sure that would ever happen. But when it did, just to embrace, every inning, not just the game, just to know that this probably isn't going to happen very much.
Don't take it for granted.
So don't take it for granted. We did it twice, and just to coach against not only my dad, but somebody who I've learned the most about coaching from, and to take that into a game. I mean, it's almost funny because we're doing a lot of the same stuff in the games, and it's like, well, I probably know what he's going to do because I probably do the same thing. So he's just helped me a lot, not just in basketball, but in baseball too, in my years here.
Well, fortunately, the game was here, so I didn't have to drive all the way to Carrollton for that game. But obviously, you probably had a lot of family attendance. Talk about that real quick.
I mean, yeah, the amount of trips that my relatives have taken, not just my immediate family, but my grandparents on both sides, and all of that, and of course my brother now, which we talked about earlier, he's at Toledo, so he's only 20 minutes away, so he can go to all my games. As a matter of fact, he was our trainer last year for our athletics, so he had to be here for his job. But no, I'm just very appreciative of my family, obviously, and some of them aren't really big into sports, but they will travel, they will support, and like any good family, any good relative would do, they would appreciate the fact that you're trying to do your job. And for me, I'm just lucky that it's coaching and doing sports.
Who do you look up to in coaching? Is it your dad?
That's the easy answer. Yeah, I mean, and it's really true. It's not just the easy answer. I learned so much from him, and always learning stuff from him. It's not just that from living in the same house as a coach for all those years that I would learn then. But I would say I learn even more now just on the telephone or just on the cell phone calling him, and just talking about everything. When I need help, he's always there to be available and to help me. And sometimes he doesn't always give me the answer that I want or the answer that I need. But I don't want to take that for granted. The fact that I have a source, a resource like him to help me, and just, yeah, he's definitely helped me the most out of anyone.
Who do you look up to professionally wise?
Well, my favorite college, I'm obviously, being a basketball coach, I'm big into college basketball. I don't watch a whole lot of the NBA, but I would say college basketball is big, in which my favorite team in college basketball is Michigan State. So, I guess I like the way that Tom Izzo not just coaches his players for basketball, but he seems to have a program in place that brings guys together. And I know it's been well documented for sports fans. You see it all the time with Izzo and his team and the stuff they do off the court. But I want to create that here as it pertains to the kids, not only just to be in the everyday grind of the sport, but to have fun and create relationships and to be one big family, essentially, as it pertains to either basketball or baseball. And I've always, one of the reasons why I like Michigan State and like Tom Izzo and look up to him in certain ways, not all, but is that he, not only is he an intense coach that cares and is very passionate about what he does, and I want to be, thought of as somebody that really cares about what he does as well. But like I said earlier, just bringing the teams together and making it more than just about the game.
So ending on the coaching part, which sport do you enjoy coaching more and why?
That's tough. I have to say basketball. There are certain things that I love about each sport, but basketball just adds, there's nothing like the intimacy of a high school gym on a Friday night, a big conference game. You could talk about the regional championships and the NTC championships and the holiday tournament championships, but just a old-fashioned NTC conference regular season game, it adds the crowd, the atmosphere, the satisfaction with doing the scouting and the film and the practice and the prep work for that one specific team. There's nothing like that with basketball to me. Again, I didn't grow up in a football house and I didn't play football. My brother did, but I think football adds that too, and former football players talk about that all the time, but for me it's basketball. If I had to pick one, I would pick basketball. Baseball adds something else. It adds the ability to be outside and enjoy the fresh air, and baseball has so many different intricacies with it as well, but not so much as the satisfaction that you get from basketball, and coaching the kids and getting a big win on a Friday night or anything like that. That excites me a lot, and that's why I do it.
So Josh, are you in touch with some of your former teammates in high school, college, or anything like that?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, some of my best friends that I have are friends that I got in high school. I still am very close to them. I mean, call them all the time, text them all the time. I have a lot of friends that I got from college as well. Not so much from Parkland, actually, for whatever reason, but from Hannibal, I still have friends that I talk to. And from Illinois College is probably where I have the most of my friends that I got from high school. College. You asked about high school.
Yeah.
That I've coached, right?
Yes.
So I love that. I've always felt like as a coach, you want to stay in touch with your former athletes and your alumni and even students too. I mean, as far as you want to be able to have that, where you're not a complete stranger to them after they graduate. And so I'm thankful that I've only been here for 4 years, so there hasn't been a whole lot of athletes, but the athletes that have graduated, the fact that I can still communicate with them is definitely a big plus, and I would hope that would never change. So,
at what age did you become interested in playing sports?
Yeah, I would say as long as I can remember for sports and just being involved in them. As a little kid, just all kinds of stories about playing one-on-one with the next door neighbor on the little junior jammer hoops, or when I didn't have any friends, I've always felt like I have found a way. I've always had a knack of creating a game that maybe I could only play by myself. You really have to have an imagination for that. So, but I can remember doing that as a little kid, just picking up balls and hitting them and going pick them up, stuff like that. But the only one that's different is golf for me. I never really was involved in golf until the summer after my 8th grade year, and I decided to play golf in high school. That's really when I started picking up golf. But for baseball and basketball, I was playing at a very young age.
So since you played, how has the game changed?
Well, one of the things that in basketball that they're always talking about, whether it's at the NBA level or college level or even high school, is it hasn't reached so much the high school, but you can still see it is the 3-point shooting. It's so prevalent in today's just game of basketball at all levels. Kids love shooting threes, and which is kind of ironic because that's really what I did when I was in high school. I mean, my junior year, that's pretty much all I did. Senior year, I had to change quite a bit as an athlete, but I would say in basketball, that's something that's changed. Is all the kids want to shoot from outside now, and sometimes it can be a challenge to get a bigger kid who as a coach should develop an inside game, and not just develop it, but progress in learning how to be a low post player or a high post player. And when I see a kid that I think should be in there, they're going to be in there. But somebody like, just an example of Derek Cool, who we've had the last couple of years, and we have him again. Mm-hmm. He'll be a senior this year. He is somebody that can do it all. Mm-hmm. You look at him, and he can shoot threes. He's a good post move guy around the rim, and he's a good free throw shooter. So I guess that would be the biggest thing that I can just think of off the top of my head is 3-pointers are more prevalent in today's game.
What advice would you give to younger kids about playing sports?
Well, the number one thing that I would say for kids that are just getting into sports is to play as many as you can. Mm-hmm. It's probably easy for me to say because that's what I did. I mean, I was something different every day. And when baseball season ended, you went into summer basketball. When basketball season ended, you went into baseball. When summer basketball ended, you started playing golf. And that's just what my life has been. It's kind of ironic now as a coach that doesn't just coach basketball, but I go, again, from fall to winter to spring and coaching. So it's just one to the next. But for kids, I would say my advice would be don't just focus on one sport and just try to be that guy. There's a lot of reasons why I don't think you should, but we don't have to get into that. But it's just you keep your mind fresh if you play many sports. And I know it's not for everybody. I know not everybody likes basketball and just wants to play soccer, and I'm not saying that it's for everybody, but that would be my biggest advice is play as many sports as you can, as long as you can, because if you don't, you're going to regret it.
What has sports done to change your life, Josh?
Well, a lot. It's really, I'll try to keep this answer short, but a couple things. Number one, it's really helped me with organization skills, honestly. I'm very busy, and I like it that way. It's not a complaint. I'm just, when you go from one season to the next, you really only have a couple days, a couple weeks throughout a school year where I don't have practice or a game after school. So I embrace that, but at the same time, it's taught me to be very organized, and it's taught me that I have to have priorities in line in order to be successful and good at my job. And I really take pride in that, and I know it doesn't always work out, and you have to kind of, again, prioritize and pick what's most important. But it's just taught me organization skills as it pertains to life and setting priorities, and obviously the values that you learn by playing, things that you can learn from your former coaches, but just about life in general, and how you're not always gonna win, you're not always gonna be successful, and you gotta be able to learn to deal with adversity and learn how to lose. And that's been something that's not always been easy for me growing up, but getting older, I understand that you're not always going to win, and you just got to keep fighting. And that's a lesson in life too, is that you may not get the first 3 jobs that you apply to, but you got to keep trying, and eventually it'll hopefully work out.
So I want to end on this question, Josh. What is a skill that nobody aside from your close circle know that you are really good at?
It's not something I think about every day, and I know it's probably a tough question to answer for all your interviewees, but I would say probably playing golf. It's just, being a teacher, I have all this time in the summer, especially when summer basketball ends, which this year there was no summer basketball up to this point. So, the whole month of June and July, I'll have opportunity to play a lot of golf. I'm a member at Meadowview and Mattoon, so I guess I'll give them a shout out. But I just play a lot of golf, and obviously I think I'm pretty good at it, and I know a lot of people that play in this community, but I'm always looking for more people to play with. If anybody's out there seeing this and is willing to play around with Coach Krumwiede, I would appreciate that. I just it's definitely my off the field, off the court hobby. Whenever I can play golf, I do, and sometimes I'll be out there all day long. So,
Josh, in closing, is there anything else you'd like to talk about or share?
No, other than just thanking you for coming here and spending your time with all your good questions, and just the interest that you had in coming here and kind of learning my story. And I think you're doing a great job with getting people not just notoriety, but learning a lot about the coaches and the educators and everything else that are working in this community, this Effingham community. And so I'm very appreciative that you came here and asked me all the questions and wanted to know my story.
I appreciate it, Josh. This is Josh Krumwiede. He's the baseball and basketball coach at Dieterich High School. Josh, thank you for your time.
Thank you.